On our premiere episode of Cape Cod After Dark, we're taking a trip to the Elbow. Hello, my friends. My name is Tim Little. I am a nighttime landscape artist, and I live on Cape Cod on the east coast of Massachusetts. And this is the premiere episode of Cape Cod After Dark, a web series devoted to helping you find amazing locations on Cape Cod to visit, and to talk a little bit about one of the images that I captured there. I mentioned earlier that we were going to the Elbow, which may not make a lot of sense to some of you, but if you're familiar with the Cape, it will make a ton of sense because, as you know, the Cape is shaped like an arm. For those of you who don't, here's what I'm talking about. If you go out to the Elbow, you're going to see a town called Chatham, and that is where we are heading today to visit one of my most favorite locations, a place that I first came across in 2015 that has a very interesting lighthouse. And so for those of you who have not been there before, we are going to visit Stage Harbor Lighthouse. This is the location that just keeps on giving, whether you want to go out there for a sunrise, a sunset, a moonrise, or to watch shooting stars. This is the place. It is super quiet. It's a nice walk, and it is fairly easy to get to. So let's talk about how to get there first. Now, I live in East Falmouth, and that puts me about an hour away from this particular location. If you're coming over the bridge, it's pretty close to an hour starting point from there. It's generally accepted to be about halfway down the Cape. Where you want to look for is a place called Hardings Beach, Harding, just like it sounds. That is about as close to the lighthouse as you can get in a vehicle. Now, keep in mind that the lighthouse is private property. So you will get to a point where you will encounter a fence, and that is as close as you can get. So just make sure you respect the boundaries for the people who are living there. So once you pull into the beach parking lot, you're going to see up here in the upper left that there's one parking lot connected to a second parking lot. You want to go to the second parking lot and drive to the back end of it, where you will see the beginning of a sandy path, and usually there's a chain there. And the reason that chain is there is because I believe it's for the people who stay out at the lighthouse to be able to get their vehicle out there. At least it's one of the ways, but it's chained because, you know, it's not open to the public, and they're discouraging people from driving out there. Now, you can walk the path. It's very similar to walking on beach sand. So, you know, moderate health, good health, 10, 15 minutes maybe to get out there. No reason to rush. There are some really interesting sights to see out that way. Seagrass, sand dunes, all the things that make a location like that super capey, if capey is a word. But if you go out there at night, like I do, one of the things that you're going to really see is lighthouse beams. Not because of Stage Harbor. Stage Harbor does not have any electricity. It does not have a functioning light attached to it. But you're so close to Chatham Lighthouse that you will see the beam from Chatham very easily. And if you look to the north, which would be to the left as you walk out, you are going to also see the light from Nauset, which is pretty cool. For those of you who don't know Nauset Light, if you've ever eaten a bag of Cape Cod potato chips, that is the lighthouse on the bag. So anyway, the reason I picked this location is because it is fantastic for night sky work. And a lot of people ask me, is this a real photo? Is this the type of thing that I would see when I go out there? Well, it is. It is a real photo. You won't quite see it that way because we just don't have the ability to see that way with our own eyes. But the camera, thanks to the technology and having wide aperture lenses, and also the amount of time that goes by to collect the light, can really, really see that. Now, before I get any further, I want to tell you a little bit about something that happened to me there last year, which was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me. I was out there with a client, and we had just finished up taking some photographs of that lighthouse, and we had a good night. It started off a little bit cloudy, and then it cleared up just as we got out to the lighthouse, and we probably spent about 20 minutes just shooting different angles of it. He was all packed up. I was packing up my gear, and I was looking down at the ground, and all of a sudden there was this green flash just all around me. The sand was green. My gear was lit green. I thought somebody had shined a flashlight, a very bright flashlight, in our direction. And the client goes, "Oh, wow, look at this." And I turned just in time to see the brightest green fireball I've ever seen in my life. And I've not seen a lot of fireballs. I've been out at night and seen a lot of things, but I had never seen anything like this. And wow, we were so close to having photographed this. If this had happened just 3 minutes earlier, we would have totally caught it. Now, we live in a society and a time now where everything is recorded. And he said, do you think anybody saw it? And I said, gee, I don't know. I hope they did. I don't know how far away this was. I mean, looks can be deceiving at night and brightness levels. But I was able to actually find a video online that somebody shot in New York, because this went over Long Island. So this is what it looked like. Can you imagine seeing that over Stage Harbor Light? Well, I can. I just don't have a photograph to show you, unfortunately. But that is what it looked like. It was July 24th of 2019. And wow, what an amazing experience it was to be able to see that. So let's get back to the photograph. This is a single exposure. And I will tell you that a lot of people do Milky Way and nighttime photography in a lot of different ways. And I'm a very organic kind of guy. So I like to be able to pull everything off in one exposure using settings that I practice, and also using light painting techniques, which is what you're seeing in the front of this image. The foreground and the structure were lit with a diffused light, light that I own called a Proto Machine. It's a light painting tool designed specifically for this kind of stuff. And it allows me to capture everything I need in just one exposure. The thing that I really love about this location, beyond everything I've just told you, is that if you are a night photographer or you're just somebody who wants to go have a great nighttime experience, if you go out there in the summer on nights that have no moonlight, nice clear nights, those are what we call the weeks of the new moon, you're going to be treated to a fantastic Milky Way alignment. In New England, if you look to the south over the course of an evening in the summer months, you'll see this main area, like in this photograph of the Milky Way. And that's like the crown jewel of what people try to photograph. Now, with your own eyes, it'll look sort of like a fuzzy glow, and it will look better the longer you let your eyes adjust. Generally, it takes about 10 minutes for your eyes to adjust, enough to be able to start to see the Milky Way in the sky, like a fuzzy glowing cloud. The best thing I can tell you is don't look directly at flashlights. Try not to look at your phone screen. And if you go out there with a camera, dim your camera's LCD back so you don't have a situation where you're blinding yourself while trying to look at these amazing stars. It's also just a great place to stargaze generally. Now, if you look off to the lower right-hand side, just above the horizon, you're going to see a little bit of orange. And I get people who say, oh, is that sunset, or what are we looking at here? That's actually light pollution. So that location is not too far from the lights of Harwich and Yarmouth. And as the Milky Way moves across the sky, what you do end up with is a little bit of light competition. So if you do decide to go out there just to visit or to check out the area, I would highly suggest, at least for the night owls watching this video, that you go out there a little bit earlier in the season. June, July, and August are the prime months to check out the Milky Way at Stage Harbor. That said, you can see it a little bit later, but because the Milky Way rises a little bit earlier every day, by the time you get into October, you're looking at a situation where that Milky Way, when the sun sets, is already over into that light pollution. So it's not going to be the best opportunity to see it. But if that's all you got, that's all you got. And then once you get into the winter months, you end up with a very cold walk, which nobody wants. And you also end up with no Milky Way because it's either setting with the sun or it rose so early that it set before the sunset and it was all day long and you couldn't see it. The bottom line is Stage Harbor is a great place to visit any time of the day. Even if you're just walking out there with an iPhone, or if you don't have any intention of taking a picture and you just want a nice Cape Cod quiet walk, Stage Harbor, Hardings Beach, the whole area is really beautiful. A few days ago, I put out the call on social media for suggestions on photographs and locations based on my portfolio that people would like to hear more about. And I was already planning on doing a Stage Harbor episode. In fact, this was certainly going to be my first one. However, I did have somebody suggest that. So I went ahead and pulled her suggestion. Donna Richardson says, my favorite is of the Stage Harbor Lighthouse because the night sky is just amazing in that shot. So Donna, thank you for suggesting this particular location. And for that, I'm going to send you an 8x10 copy of Galactic Stage. If you have a location and a photograph you'd like to hear more about from my portfolio via Facebook, Instagram, or my website, capeknightsgallery.com, please leave me that suggestion in the comment. If I use it for a future episode, you too are going to get yourself an 8x10 print of that location as a thank you for the suggestion. Thanks for joining me on our trip to Stage Harbor, and we'll see you on the next episode of Cape Cod After Dark.